everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to learn how to create this lovely braided puff stitch pattern in your crochet work. I am actually making it in a gauge for a braided puff stitch headband, which is a pattern I have in my Etsy shop. But you could literally use this for almost any project that you wanted this texture in. So for this stitch, make sure you know how already to puff stitch, how to double crochet, and how to chain. If you are unsure of how to do any of those, you can go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. I have tutorials for all of them. Also make sure, if you want to follow along with me, I have an H8 or 5mm hook. That's what I use for my pattern, and I'm using worsted weight yarn today. Today I'm using Karen's Simply Soft in like a gold color, which is really pretty, but you can use any worsted weight yarn that you have and that you would like to use. So go ahead and grab your stuff and we'll get started. Alrighty guys, so to get started, I'm using a base from a headband pattern that I have called the Braided Puff Stitch Headband. So you do not have to use a base. You could literally go ahead and do this braided puff stitch straight from a chain. I just find it easiest to add it to a base of something. So I have my base here. So I'm going to start with a chain 2. If you're starting from a chain, you're just going to want to chain 2 extra before you go ahead and get started. Then you're going to go ahead and turn and go ahead and get started. So I'm going to skip 1, 2, and in this third stitch, I'm going to double crochet. Just like that. And in this first stitch that I skipped, you're going to go ahead and puff stitch. And I like to have 9 loops for my puff stitch, just a personal preference. So that means I'm going to yarn over and go back and forth 4 times. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'll yarn over and pull through. So that's my puff stitch. And then I chain 1. So what I'll end up doing is I'll have a double crochet stitch, a puff stitch, and a chain 1. And that will keep my stitch count even for that first stitch. I have a skip stitch right there in the middle, and then I have the stitch that I double crocheted in. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do it again. So we're going to skip 2. Now you always want to make sure that you are not thinking that you're going to skip this double crochet, the stitch that you double crocheted in. You're going to want to pretend like you've already crocheted into that stitch, so you are moving on from there. So you're going to skip 1, 2, and in this third one, you're going to double crochet again. And in this stitch that you skipped, in the very first one, you're going to puff stitch again. And then chain 1. So we have 2 puff stitch combos. Now we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to do it 2 more times. So we skip 2, double crochet, go back to that first skipped one, and this 3, 1, 2. Now, I will say, for the end ones, this is where it can get the most tricky in my brain. You're gonna skip these 2, and this one right here, that's the one you're gonna double crochet in. And you're gonna puff stitch just like you did before. That first skipped one. Now to end the row, I'm going to slip stitch right back into that end, half double crochet for me, that end stitch, just to make sure that all of my stitches are all slanted, because this is what's going to create the braided look. Then you're going to chain 2, turn, and you'll see these are kind of puffed out. They'll start puffing out the other way here in a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our first double crochet. Now, instead of working into the 3rd stitch, you're actually going to work into this chain space right there. So you're going to double crochet into that chain space, and that chain 2 is going to give you some height. Now this first one is the hardest one to place. So do you see right there, that space that you created from that chain 1, that is where you're going to puff stitch. Now you're going to want to double check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. And then you're going to chain 1. Don't want to forget your chain 1. Alright guys, and so then you're going to do your next double crochet. So you did your first double crochet in this one. Your next double crochet is going to be in this next chain space. So double crochet. And then your puff stitch is actually going to be in the same chain space as your first double crochet, so you'll kind of go back and forth. And you're going to continue this all the way across. So you're going to double crochet again in this further one. And then puff stitch in the one that you've already worked a double crochet in. And chain 1. And then the last one is a little trickier, so we're going to go ahead and remember your chain 2 from the beginning. That's where you're going to place. Sometimes you have to finagle them a little bit, gotta manhandle them, but that's okay, they'll be fine. So you see your chain 2 from the beginning of the previous row, that space that is created right there, that is where you're going to place your double crochet. And then you're going to place your puff stitch in the previous chain space between puff stitch combos. Pull through and then chain 1. And here's the final step. You're going to want to slip stitch again into that same chain space. And this will create your braid. Now, this is the cool part. Is I'm going to just chain 1 and turn, but now you can see this is the right side, but really you could go either way. They look pretty similar, but you'll see if you were to continue going, you'd have a beautiful braided pattern going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I hope this was helpful for you to learn how to do the braided puff stitch. If it was, please like and subscribe and let me know what you're using it for. Remember this, I use this specific puff stitch combo, the braided puff stitch, in my headband, the braided puff stitch headband. And you can find the full pattern tutorial on my YouTube channel, and you can find the full written ad-free pattern on my Etsy shop. Go ahead and check it out. Love to see you and what you guys can make with this. Thanks so much.